Right. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. I know more folks are hopping in. We want to respect the time of those who have started with us right away. If you're joining, please feel free to continue to introduce yourself in the chat. As Olivia mentioned, name, position, county office, and which awards programs you coordinate. We'll do a little bit of purpose setting, and then we're going to introduce the CDE team, and then we'll go ahead and dive in. So our goal in this group is really to provide support and community for all our awards coordinators across all of our county offices. We know that if you've seen one county office, you've seen one county office. Each of our county offices is differently structured, has different support needs, and we have a goal at CDE at really making sure that we support everyone to engage with our Teacher of the Year program, our Classified School Employee of the Year program, and our Distinguished Schools program. So this is part of that effort. You should have already received a new awards calendar for the whole year. We'll also give an updated version of that today. And these shifts have come from feedback from the field. So we'll also encourage that to continue today. And after this meeting, we really want to make sure that we're shifting what we do to best support what you do so that we can really help our schools and teachers and classified staff shine. So our three goals today are just to anticipate upcoming steps in our award cycles that are coming up, share some of the best local practices that we know are out in the field, just to support county offices to support each other, and then also gather some feedback about the Teacher of the Year award cycle that just closed, so that we can hear some of that from the field as we plan for the next cycle coming up. So we'll go ahead and do some quick introductions. My name is Liz Sanders. I'm the Director of Communications and Public Relations for CDE. It's great to see many familiar faces, and I will pass it to my colleague, Tish.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tish McLeod. I'm the current manager of the awards programs. Many of you I've met before, and I've worked with you for many years, and some of you are brand new, so welcome. And I just want to say thanks for joining us today. Go ahead, Olivia.
Hello, everyone. Olivia Lanza, Public Information Officer in the Awards Unit. It's great to see everyone here, and thank you for joining us.
All right, and so we are the Small But Mighty Awards team at CDE. If you email awards@cde.ca.gov, we try to monitor that really closely and make sure that we get back to everyone with any support needs. So that's the best point of contact, and then we're happy to always hop on calls, follow up as needed to support each of you. This is a little bit of kind of data diving that we did on our own for the data that we have and a little bit of goal setting that we wanted to transparently share with you. So again, we really want to make sure that across all of California's regions and school communities, every school community is supported to recognize great schools, great educators, great classified educators. And so when we looked at kind of how we're doing in terms of the percentage of county offices that we're currently engaging on average across our three core programs, so Classified School Employee of the Year, Teacher of the Year, and Distinguished Schools, we saw that we're currently engaging about 55% of our county offices. We really want to make sure that 100% of our county offices feel supported and engaged in these programs. So we've set a goal for ourselves if we want to take that from 55 to 66 this year, try to get to a 2/3 mark. And as we do that, make sure that we're learning as a team about what we can be doing and scaling up so that we accelerate that even further. And again, make sure that all of our county offices feel engaged and supported. We know that many of you who are joining us today are the county offices who have been engaged and have been successful in these programs. We really appreciate you and appreciate your engagement today. Some of you may also know from the field others who may not be fully engaged in these awards programs yet. And so again, we welcome your feedback and best practices. And we also are hoping that we can speak with you as our eyes and ears in the field to help us understand what we can be shifting as we continue to hit this goal for ourselves and scale this up across the state. There will be 3 other quarterly check-ins this year. So again, we'll get some feedback today about how today's session went. We'll be adjusting for the next time, and we'll keep that going. So we wanted to start with just hearing some bright spots from the field from this past year, the past most recent award cycles. Anything that you have tried or have done differently at your county office that has gone really well that you'd love to share with other county office colleagues who are on the call. I'm going to pass it to Tish to lead the rest of this kind of curating best practices from the field.
Hey again, everyone. Okay, so yeah, we just wanted to do a quick little, shout out feedback type of a thing. For those of you who've done this for many, many years, you have some amazing institutional knowledge that you can share with the group to possibly give others that the new coordinators who have just recently joined the team. Give them some feedback and some ideas on things that they could do for their programs, whether it be Teacher of the Year, Distinguished Schools Classified, any of them, because you clearly you know what works and what does not work if you've been around for a while. So that's really what we'd like to do, is just give you an opportunity to either ask the questions that you want to ask, or give some kind of suggestions or ideas or help to those in the group. So this is open for everyone to be able to say what it is you want to say or ask what it is you want to ask. And then it's for everyone to answer, the awards team and the other coordinators. So that's what we'd like to do in this section. If you guys are interested, if you want to type it into the chat, or if you want to open up and talk, it's really up to you on what you'd like to do. So let's see. Okay, we have one question. Our classified award winners have a breakfast with the AXA classifieds. Oh, wait. There's something going on with my little thing. Hold on. Sorry, it just went away. Let's see. Stacy Young says our classified award winners have a breakfast with the AXA classified breakfast. So they're honored in it's cut off. Sorry about
I
that.
see it. It's all good. Tish, I
Okay.
can jump in and take it. I see it on my end.
That'd be great.
Um,
Thanks.
Yeah. Stacy from Humboldt is sharing that their CSA award winners have a breakfast with the AXA classified breakfast, so they're honored in front of their colleagues. So making sure that there's an opportunity for recognition in front of colleagues as well, in front of community. That's a great suggestion and best practice. Thanks.
That's really great. So you honor them in your county as well. Obviously, they're county winners, but you give them an opportunity to be honored in front of the AXA.
And Shauna, I see your hand.
Hi, yes, Shauna with Napa COE. And I just want to share that I've managed our CSEY and TOY for almost 20 years. So I've done a lot of different things over the years, and we've made quite a bit of changes. But the biggest, I think the best change that we made maybe 6 or 7 years ago was we aligned the selection of the TOY and the CSEY, and we celebrate them together at one event. And that has, I cannot recommend that enough. The teachers actually really enjoy it. Nobody felt like, oh, well, we used to have our own event and now we have this combined event. They really like doing it together. It just has a wonderful feeling. The districts love all coming together and celebrating them really together, because you need both to succeed at school, right? So we have found that to really pay off. And I'll just chime in with something I saw in the chat too. We also show up at the teacher's classroom for Teacher of the Year with a cake or cupcakes or something, and we bring, the district superintendent and the principal of the site, and we just sort of barge into the room, and the kids are jumping up and down and screaming, and it's one of the most fun parts of the whole thing. So
That's amazing. Yes, we're really trying to be conscious of getting the word out early as possible, as soon as we can get it to you all, so you can plan those types of events. And I think that means a lot to the school site, and the students, as well as the Teacher of the Year themselves. So that's great. That's awesome.
Thank you for that. I was going to lift up a couple of the other ones I'm seeing in the chat. So I see Jill from Lake also sharing about classroom visits and making sure that there's student involvement. We're trying to make sure that at CDE we're consistently sending the press releases to you all before we send the press releases out to the community, so that you have time to do a little bit of that planning to make sure that there can be some of that on-site celebration as well. And then I also see in Humboldt as well, throwing out the first pitch at a local baseball game. I think that's awesome. And great to hear some of those specific ideas.
That is awesome. From the chats that I am able to read, I did see someone asked if we had a timeline or a calendar, and we do. We absolutely do. That's what we're sharing with you today. So yes, there'll be a link where you can look up the timeline in the calendar on how to access it. I think Olivia is posting that in the chat.
Yes, and just go ahead, Liz. I was just going to say, Kristen, I added it into the meeting invite as well, so you guys can see it there. And then I'll be sending it again later in this meeting through a link, and then there'll be a QR code.
All right. So that's actually our next item. So thank you all for providing the smooth transition for us. We are keeping our awards calendar updated throughout the year. We'll continue to send out updated versions as there are additional dates and changes. And we will also continue to share the most updated version in this meeting. All dates for all the quarterly check-ins are on the most current version. I think Olivia's going to drop the link in the chat, and then there's also a QR code here as well, so you can get straight to that file, and we'll send it in a follow-up email too.
Yes, I just dropped the link in the chat, so everyone should have that.
So when we think about our upcoming dates and deadlines, for those of you who will be attending the Teacher of the Year Gala, that is January 13th up here in Sacramento, and the next quarterly check-in that we'll have all together for this group will be January 16th from 2 to 3 p.m. We're trying to be consistent about doing third Thursdays in the months that we're doing them in hopes that that just makes it a little bit easier on your end. And in January, also, the CSA application is going to open. We'll post that, and then we'll also hold a training for folks who coordinate CSA that will be separate from this meeting so that there can be sustained focus time to talk about the CSA application. Any questions about kind of the broad calendar or logistics of any of those deadlines before we keep it moving? And
sorry, did you say the CSA application period was going to open in January?
Correct.
Yes.
So that's quite a bit earlier than in previous years.
We're going to try to get it to you a lot earlier this year.
Great. But it'll still close like sometime in March?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We've heard you all, and we really have worked hard to try to get what you need early so you can have your local competition or
thank you.
Your local programs. Mm-hmm.
And just one thing to add, the awards timeline will be changing with dates. So as we get the dates, we'll add that to the timeline, and then we'll send that to you guys and have an updated one at every meeting as well.
Thanks, Olivia. And so you will see on that timeline, there are some dates on there that are still general months. So as Olivia mentioned, as we get closer to each of those parts of the year and we can turn those kind of month ranges into very specific dates, we'll make sure to do that and to send that back out to you. And Kristen, yes, I believe we'll finalize that as we post the CSA application, but that is our intent, is that the CSA application this year will mirror how it was structured last year. And that was to do two things: to bring it in line with national requirements for CSA, and also to really support our CSA readers to be able to better distinguish across candidates so that our top candidates really rise to the top. That was some feedback that we got from our application readers, was that there was a lot of similarity across the different applications, and that there was a need to make sure that we could more clearly distinguish among folks. And we'll talk about that more in the application training, absolutely.
As far as the gala invite, I believe we're going to be sending that out the first couple weeks of November.
And Barbara, thank you for that feedback. That same requirements allows us to gather information sooner. That's also good for us to know on our end, that kind of value of consistency. All right. So with this, we wanted to just kind of like pause and just do a deep dive into one specific award cycle, which is the one that just ended. We just finished our 2025 Teacher of the Year application cycle, and we're planning for the next cycle ahead. We know that not everyone on this call might administer the Teacher of the Year award cycle, so we'll spend just about 5 to 10 minutes kind of really doing a deep dive here. But we wanted to make sure to give time to really hear any feedback from the field while that's all fresh in our minds. So I'm going to stop sharing really quickly so I can pull up a version of this that I can type directly into. But feel free to raise hands, and Olivia can call on folks so that we can start getting some of these insights out in the room.
And before we just quickly get into this, I wanted to say that, as you all know, those of you who've been around for a while, our dates are driven by national. And so if national changes, then we have to change. So Stephen, to answer your question, our application due date hopefully will be the same. We haven't heard anything about any changes from national, but at this point, if we do, we'll have to adjust, just so you know. With that, I just want to give that little caveat of if there are changes, because we have to make those changes because of national. Wanted to say that.
All right. I see a couple questions in the chat. I want to take a moment just to briefly address those, and then we'll dive into this a little bit more. I see Stacy's question about kind of the regional concentration of our Teachers of the Year. One of the things that we really try to do is to make sure that the way that all of our awards recipients are selected is based on the qualifying criteria. And so that means there's not necessarily a regional or geographic bias in how folks are selected. It's really intended to be who scores the highest in the process. There is a little bit of a geographical cluster that you notice there in terms of who ended up scoring the highest. And that's part of why we have a goal for ourselves around making sure that we're effectively engaging and supporting all regions so that we get really competitive applications from everywhere. And we make sure that as we try to make sure we still have a very fairly administered awards program, we're fairly recognizing folks from across the whole state. I hope that's a clear answer.
It's not.
Got it. And Stacey, I see the detail there about kind of size of areas and how many folks can submit. That's something that we'll certainly take back and talk with our team about. I understand the consideration you're trying to raise there.
And we have, as Liz says, we have discussed possibly, again, with now that we are able to, well, now that we're ramping up and we have a few more people on the awards team and a few more, just a few more people participating and helping out, we may be able to accept applications. We may only have to limit the larger states. We may consider not limiting the smaller, I said states, I meant counties, sorry. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to think about how we can help with that because we understand. But we do not even take into consideration where they're from when they're selected. The readers don't even look at demographics when they're reading applications.
Yeah. All right. So digging into that a little bit more, I want to make sure to capture some things here. Like one question that we're really clearly hearing is how do we make sure that underrepresented areas have teachers effectively supported and uplifted? Is that capturing kind of the sentiment that's emerging? Okay.
I think so, but the thing when you talk about underrepresented areas, it's it's not just that we have fewer teachers, we also have fewer resources.
Great.
And it's really tough for Lake County to compete with LA County.
When you think about what support for that might look like, are there any specific things that come to mind?
This is such a fundamental problem that goes back to rural communities having such a hard time hiring and keeping teachers. We struggle with that, and I'm sure some of the other smaller counties do too. I think we're all struggling with that. But I just want to say we had such a fantastic candidate this year. And so, even we keep our California Teachers of the Year from Lake County very heavily involved in the process so they can help and coach. And everyone was so excited about this candidate. But it is, I'm just going to say it's probably much more exciting to work in San Diego County or Los Angeles County than it is to come to a high poverty region and teach. However, I think that the teaching in the high poverty rural communities really, really are special people. So that's just, I liked the comment about underrepresented communities. However, it just is a tough thing.
I definitely hear you on that. As a former teacher in a high poverty school myself, I hear you.
Sorry, yeah. I wanted to answer Kristen's questions really quickly. We cannot let the teachers who are not moving forward know prior to announcing the winners, because then it's not a surprise for the group. And As you all know, there's a network out there. Everyone talks, and we totally get it. We've tried it all different ways, and every time we notify the teachers prior to sending out the press release, we have had an issue with announcements going out prior to us announcing. And given it's a state award and the superintendent should be announcing, we have to be very careful to keep everything under wraps until the announcement goes out. Unfortunately, that's the only way we can do it. We've tried many different ways in all my 20+ years doing this. And unfortunately, the only way to do it is to keep it quiet. The only way to assure that misinformation does not go out is for us to keep it quiet until we actually announce.
But we
I
certainly
hope that answers the question.
I think it does, Tish. Thank you. And we do really appreciate the feedback of kind of what the experience is for the teachers and folks at the county offices while folks are in that limbo. I think that's really important for us to keep in mind. Anything from this past year that felt like a supportive change or useful change on our end? I think if something's working, we want to make sure that we keep doing that as we make other changes. And it's fine to put things in the chat. Feel free to unmute too. Is it Naime?
Yes. Hi, it's Naime from LA County. I really liked the timeline this year. It was really comfortable. I do wish we had a little heads up that it was coming out in March because I was on vacation. So I was a couple of weeks late in sending it out to my districts. But everything was a good pace, and I just really appreciated that you all did that. So thank you.
Wonderful.
Anything else that felt effective or useful this year?
Hi, this is Steve Keithley from Santa Barbara. I wanted to share that the early release of your application is extremely helpful. And the reason why is because we model our local Teacher of the Year application after yours, so that our person moving forward to the state competition already has a leg up and has already thought about some of the questions and responses. So I just wanted to thank you for that and let you know that that works well for us.
Thank you so much. And we can make sure that continues.
I wanted to say just a quick little shout out to you all. The information that we are receiving from the teachers who are part of the process and who are being either site visited or receive an interview, they have all congratulated you and just raved about your programs and said that filling out the application has made them reflect on themselves, and that the processes that you all are doing out there have been just great. So I always wanted to say that to you guys when we hear it, but today I'm thinking about it, and I just want to give you compliments. They are just saying how much they have loved the process in their counties, and it's been across the board. So you guys are doing a great job with your application programs.
And I think that's also a bright spot for us as well. I know I mentioned kind of previously that we've heard from some of the folks who are jurying our CSA process that sometimes it's a little bit hard to distinguish between the different applicants. That's not feedback I heard from our Teacher of the Year folks. I think we're getting applications that are really clear, are really distinct. I know we had to make some incredibly hard choices this year. And so we just really want to thank you for the hard work on those applications. Really clear, compelling stories about these incredible educators are coming through. We know that you're putting so much work into them. And these choices are very, very hard. And we really just appreciate your support in making sure that these teachers shine. Right. Any last thoughts on the Teacher of the Year award cycle before we kind of open this up more broadly? Okay, I'm gonna go back to our other view of the slide deck. Thanks for your quick patience with transition time here.
A quick question from Jill. The video is very important. It's not scored, but it's important that our readers and the national readers get an idea of who these teachers are. And so, yeah, the video is important. Not scored, but important.
All right, and that takes us to this kind of more broad, open Q&A. As we kicked off the cycle of these quarterly check-ins for the year, we really wanted to keep today's meeting pretty open and make sure that we're hearing from you about what would be useful in this space this year, and if there are any lingering questions that you have about any of our awards processes at this time.
Quickly, the second part of Jill's question, no, it is not important to hire a pro. No, it's just, we're happy with the cell phone video, having them just introduce themselves and, just say a few things about themselves, what they teach, that kind of thing. No, a pro is absolutely not necessary.
I also have questions related to video because that was, I believe, something new that was implemented for CSA last year. And to be perfectly honest, the nominations that I forwarded to you, none of them had videos. There just wasn't enough time. And I didn't want people not to submit a nomination because they thought, oh, I don't have time to create a video. So I just thought, if it comes down to it, we'll just, our communications team can help them with the video or whatever. So the increased lead time, I think, will really help with that. But I'm just curious because of what Patricia was saying about the videos that are submitted for the Teacher of the Year process. That sounds like it's a video made by the teacher, but for CSA, I thought it was supposed to be the nominator who makes the video. Am I understanding that correctly?
I'm going to have to read the wording because let me.
I think that, yes, it is the nominator that is nominating the candidate. But yes, for the Teacher of the Year, it's different. But we'll make sure to make that more clear.
Yes, that's why I'm hoping it's clear because absolutely. Teacher of the Year is just an introduction video. The video for the CSA is the nominator, speaking about the person that they're nominating. Because in the past, what has happened is we are not getting what we need as far as a view into who the classified folks are. And unfortunately, we just say this person's great. They help children. They love being where they are. We don't get what we need we haven't been getting what we need from the applications themselves. And that's the feedback that we have received from the readers. Like we don't have any idea. It's very hard for us to, distinguish who would or would not be moving forward because they can't distinguish who these people are from what the words that are written on the paper. That's why they're hoping that the videos will be easier.
And did the reviewers for CSA last year say that having videos helped them differentiate more last year?
It did.
Yes. Sorry,
it did.
Yeah. And this feedback is really good for us to think about between now and January as well, because it's sounding like it might be helpful for us to provide some kind of quick guide of like how to simply, easily, and quickly submit your nominator video for CSA. Like how to not need to turn it into a giant production, because it's certainly not intended to be that. It's just intended to be a different type of opportunity for the wonderful things about this candidate to be shared. And I think we received some last year where it was really clear that folks kind of were able to find that sweet spot of we're stretched for time. There's only so much time we can put into this, but this is a really clear, compelling story about this employee. And then there were some where there was so much beautiful production value put in, and we want to really value that, but we don't necessarily want that to be necessary and want that to be something that everyone needs to do. So we can do some things this year to help kind of just level the playing field there and make it more clear about what is actually necessary and useful.
It's more about the substance of the video, not the quality of the video. We're looking for, the substance on this candidate.
And the idea from Jill about possibly sharing some is a great one. We'll reach out to some of the counties and see if there are some that we could do that, because I know for me that would be really useful to see some of those clear examples. And with that, there's one other question that I want to capture about distinguished schools. And Jake, yes, we will send out the deck and the resources. Thank you so much for the question. In terms of the distinguished schools criteria, that is something where we're also working on being able to clearly publish the data rules that we use for that. We know that that's been a question in the past. So we've been discussing as an internal team how we make those data rules more clear so that they can be published and accessible to folks. So we are working on those. And yes, we will be making sure that the coordinators get a list of the schools before the state announcement. Sometimes it's a little bit of a tight window of time in terms of when we're able to give you a heads up and then when we're announcing. So we're working on trying to make that giving you more and more lead time. We will certainly make sure that you know before. How much more before is something that we are working on our end. And I'm just skimming the chat to see if there's anything else that we're missing for. Barbara, thank you so much for the tip in the chat. Having the nominators do their best to meet the maximum word count is a great best practice to lift up. I think that would really help make sure that we're getting as much detail as possible. And we'll make sure to build that into the training that we do on the CSA application in January.
And Martin, I'm sorry, I don't understand your question. Broadly, what is the DS group in 2025? I'm sorry. Could you clarify?
I think are you asking if it's elementary or secondary? It's
Yes,
elementary.
I can't remember which group we're on.
Yeah.
It's elementary this year?
It's elementary this year. Yeah.
And that's K through K6 or K, does that include middle schools?
No, it's K. There's a blurry window as far as how schools. It's how they're identified in their.
It's how they're identified on the dashboard. There's like specific rules that make sure that no school falls through the cracks because we know grade spans look really different across the state. We do make sure with our data team that the way we define the elementary year and the way we define the secondary year means that everyone's considered in one of those cycles, no matter what specific grade span you have. So there are some cutoffs. They get a little bit in the weeds, and we can again share more detail there. Because Stacey, I see your question about K-8, and there's some specific rules there about kind of which ones get considered elementary or secondary. I believe all the K-8s are considered elementary, but I don't want to misquote you on that. I know if they were considered last year, they're not considered this year. If they weren't considered last year, they will be considered this year.
Exactly. They would never be considered more than once. It is how they are identified, because over the years, we've, been back and forth. There's been a lot of questions, but they are specific, and it is how they are identified on the dashboard. And to quickly answer or to respond to you, Jill, thank you so much. And just so you know, Lake County has had a lot of Teachers of the Year. You should be very proud. We've had one of our teachers who still help out is Alan. He helps. Oh my gosh, Alan is amazing. He's retired now, but we have Alan and we have Jennifer. We have, oh my gosh, I'm trying to think right now. But yes, we've had a lot of Teachers of the Year from Lake County, just so you know, Jill. I'm sure you probably know, but we do. Considering how small your county is, you guys per capita or you have a lot of Teachers of the Year.
And feel free to continue to ask questions. We do have a formal feedback form because we wanted to make sure to capture questions and next steps from everybody. So if you wouldn't mind taking a moment just to fill this out before you hop off. And thanks so much, Olivia, for putting the link in the chat. And I see a hand. Barry, please go for it.
Thank you. It was interesting. This is the first year that I've been involved in the submission process. Is there any thought of making it more of a submission portal, so where it's not just one big long PDF, but like, okay, you've submitted one letter of recommendation, a second one, a third one. Oh, you've submitted the photo, you've submitted the video. Or is it just simpler to have it one long document?
We can explore what's possible on our side. I think that's a great idea, and we can certainly take it back to our team and see what's possible.
And, Liz, I can tell you from the past I'm hoping that things might change, but in the past, it's always been a technology, a TSD requirements that we can't, as a state agency, there's a lot of things we can't, a lot of great programs out there that we can't take advantage of because we're limited in that way. So, yeah, maybe you can find some things that would really help out. But I think that's why we've done what we've done in the past. Those are our reasonings for the past, but maybe we can, maybe there's some things that have changed. I would hope so. That would be awesome. So much
We
easier.
commit to asking all the questions and finding out how possible that can be. Absolutely.
I just wanted to tag onto that. I really like that idea of a portal. For CSA, we don't, I mean, you did away with the individual letter. So now it's just the, you know, single nomination document. But still there's the photos, there's everything. So I would like that too. The other thing that I would just kind of like to put in a special request for is it ends up being very repetitive and a lot of data entry because at the very beginning you have to certify that you're the CSA coordinator, so you can't like delegate it to an admin person. I mean, I guess I could and just have the person lie, but you know, so I'm just like, really, is this the best use of my time to be like filling out all these individual Google forms? I don't think so. So if there were a way to like have all the information filled out and then somehow we certify separately that we, you know, we oversaw the process or whatever, just so we're not having to do all that data entry would really be nice.
That's a really important piece of feedback. Thank you so much, Amy. We'll take that back and explore it as well.
Yeah.
All right. And if anyone on this call happens to know someone who is not on this call, who may be at a county office that doesn't yet have a coordinator for one of these awards programs, or maybe really wants to be in a position to participate, but just hasn't had the resources, please feel free to let us know, suggest to them that they reach out to us, we can reach out to them. We really do want to kind of find out what are those resource gaps that are not supporting all of our counties to participate and make sure that we're successfully engaging as many folks as we can. Right. And with that, again, please feel free to hang on. We're here to chat and here to support. If you don't mind filling out the feedback form before you hop off, we don't want to take up more of your time and your busy day than is needed, but we really, really appreciate you taking the time to be here with us. And we look forward to continuing to iterate these gatherings based on your feedback. So thank you so much. Stacy, please go for it.
I put a question in the chat, but I'm just wondering, how does the demographic info that we put in the Teacher of the Year info get used? Because that's also a lot of painstaking. Like,
it's a great question. Tish, are you able to take that?
Yes, that is all required for national. That is not our requirement. That is absolutely straight from national, and the formatting that it's in, all of that has to. They're very, very specific, and we cannot submit applications for national if we do not have that information. So I know it's cumbersome. I'm so sorry about that.
Great question, Stacy, and thanks, Tish, for chiming in. Appreciate that.
I have a question.
Yeah, please go for it.
For the Classified School Employee of the Year, I'm new to the process. I didn't get it in on time last year, but are groups doing a regional event prior to submitting for the classified? I know the window doesn't open till March, or January, sorry, but I was just wondering, are people doing one prior to the beginning or prior to submitting it to the state?
You know, Juan, yes, they have local competitions, and so then their local county winners, and then they move their winners forward to us as a state, one of their state applicants.
Yeah. And what are the different ranges, or what are the different, I guess, nominating?
We have 9 categories, and you can visit our webpage at cde.ca.gov. Okay. And there's a criteria. And then also Los Angeles County and Orange County, they have great programs. And I mean, I don't want to put you guys on the spot, but there's a ton of them all throughout the state. And I'm sure your fellow coordinators will be happy to probably share their processes with you and things that they do, maybe timelines, because each county does everything differently. I mean, they don't do it the same way. And so there might be some that would fit your county that, you know, actually the smaller counties and the larger counties do things, I'm sure, completely different. And so maybe you can get, you know, some ideas from them on how they administer their programs and then, you know, model yours after that. So that way it's very, I mean, I don't want to say it's very simple, but if you put a process in place and then you can set up your timelines, make sure you get your applications, because we don't want to miss your applications. Like, gosh, I just realized you're from Ventura. My gosh, I would love to have you be able to submit. I would love to have everybody submit, but I'm sorry that you didn't have the information.
No, it's probably more me. Could you put the website on the chat so I can go ahead and save it if you know?
Sure.
Olivia.
Yeah,
either.
I'll look that up.
Thank you so much. And Jennifer, please go for it.
Oh, I just wanted to say that I work with the CSA, and so I know that the districts are going to really appreciate the fact that we're going to get the information early. We're going to be able to get it out to them, because I know that when we do get it, you know, unfortunately, you know, with that really tight time frame, it puts a lot of stress on them, along with myself.
Right.
So I'm really excited for this, and I'm sure that they're going to be super excited. And I know it was briefly discussed as far as the video and the fact that the nominator needs to create that, because I know last year there was a bit of confusion. So again, all of those things are really helpful. And so that's going to make my life and my job a lot easier, just kind of letting them know, hey, and I'm sure that you're going to have tons of entries now, because again, we'll have more of that flexibility. So it's really exciting to know that. Thank you.
That's fantastic and really great for us to hear. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Wonderful news. Yes.
Hi, I just want clarification. Is the CSA video is created from the nominator. The toy, is that one the nominator or the nominee?
That's the nominee. They just do a quick little short video, and it's called an introduction video of who they are, what they do, their passions, that kind of thing. It does not have to be a professional video. It does not have to be anything, but it's just quick introduction video. CSA is by the nominator, correct.
And we can probably curate some examples of both to make sure that everyone has both, and not to put folks on the spot, but I know Nikki's on here from Contra Costa. They've got some great Teacher of the Year videos, so we can make sure we can ask some folks if they're willing to submit videos so that the group can see.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question.
And our websites will be updated as soon as we have the dates. As soon as we get the dates, we'll update the websites and we'll let you guys know as well.
Okay, thank you.
Take care, Joe. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
I can ask a quick question. Sorry,
Yes.
just trying to wait. So I'm kind of curious about the other state awards, for example, Distinguished Schools, the Green Schools, all those. Are you planning any changes to, for example, how schools and districts are notified about those? Any new ones coming up? Those always seem to catch me by surprise. And even sometimes it'll be, oh my gosh, I didn't know there was that award. And
Right.
find out late. And then we are kind of taken aback and don't get to congratulate them as their county ed office.
That's a really great question. And one of the things that we've tried to do on that awards calendar is gather all of the program office contacts for the different awards. The ones that are administered by our awards unit are Distinguished Schools, National Blue Ribbon. We administer the piece of it that's done at the state level, and then that whole program is done at the DOE level. We do Teacher of the Year, and we do Classified School Employee of the Year. But you're right, there's the Green Ribbon Schools program. There's Purple Star schools. There's there's Model SARB. There's lots of different ones. And so we are trying to make sure that we in the awards unit are staying in close contact with the program offices at CDE that administer some of the more specialized programs and make sure that the needs of the county coordinators are communicated to those program offices, that we do things like when press releases are coming out, that we make sure to pause and send those to you before we just send them out to the field. So we're trying to do some of those things kind of in the awards unit to make sure that we create a more seamless experience for folks in the field. In terms of communication about like specific deadlines or anticipated changes, certainly the folks in the program offices can best answer those specific questions, but we will continue to work with all of those different liaisons to try to make sure that there's more streamlined communication around all those programs.
Yeah, thanks. I guess that explains why for a long time I've wondered, why isn't there just one list with a matrix of the award and who's responsible and the dates on it? So I guess it's too varied in terms of responsibility where the award comes from.
Yeah, I mean, now there's at least a matrix of who's responsible and the email addresses and the phone numbers. So that's where we've gotten for this year, and we absolutely aspire to get more in one central place than that. But hopefully that matrix of key contacts is a useful place to start, and we'll continue to build that out.
And will that be shared at some point?
Oh, it's in the awards calendar. Olivia, if you could drop that link back in the chat, and then I'll screen share it really quickly just so we can see. Let me pull up that link.
And you know, that has been a misconception out there that we administer all awards, which I totally understand because we're called the awards, awards unit. And so that makes total sense. So Liz has done a great job in trying to get all that information out there so everyone knows who to get in contact with the other award questions, the ones that we don't administer.
Yeah, thanks. I know it took me a while to learn that, and when I finally did, it allowed me to give you a lot more grace.
Thank you. You're always so helpful and very nice, Steven. So don't worry.
Thanks. You
And so
all did a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just skipping forward in this document, you can see once you get past the timeline itself, we have an alphabetical listing of all the different awards, and then which division it lives in, the email and the website. And then each program office usually adds their deadlines to their website. So we're hoping that by linking to all of those different web pages, we're helping to pull this together in one place.
Super helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely.